this is a bit of a controversial point that I would mention about, is your house that you're living in cannot be just your primary investment. Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to be talking to you about some of the common mistakes we all make towards our spending habits, savings, and our investment strategy. And these mistakes can add, if not months, years to your financial independence. A quick introduction about myself. My name is Yogi, and my wife Seema and I, we both achieved financial independence and retired early, before the age of 50. And to celebrate that, we are on this one-year world trip, and that's what brings us to this beautiful Lake Tahoe in sunny yet chilly California. Back to the topic. So the first mistake is not having a sound and a good plan. And this is something which I found when in the last few months, when I've been interacting with quite a few folks who've been very curious about this FIRE, financial independence, retire early journey. And when I asked them, what's your plan? What's your financial independence strategy? Most of them share with them their expense sheet or their savings or their investment portfolio. But a plan, this is a lot more than that. A plan is where you will need to have what's your investment philosophy, what's your portfolio diversification objectives, what's your lifestyle objectives to minimize or manage your spending. So a plan is a lot more. In corporate lingo, if I put it, it's not just an Excel sheet. It's something that you put it in a Word document or in a PowerPoint and have it reviewed by someone. That's the other, I would say, mistake linked to that same not having a good plan, is not having a good set of peers where we can get it reviewed or even get feedback from. It's so fascinating that when it comes to our corporate world or corporate work, we get our work reviewed so many times. But when it comes to our own financial independence journey, something that should matter a lot to us, we have very few people who we get this reviewed from or feedback from. So that is the first mistake, I would say. The second one is linked to our spending and therefore linked to the savings. As they say, salary is for vanity and savings is for sanity. And the difference between the salary and savings is your expenses, your lifestyle. So understanding the expenses is super important. And I don't mean just by saying that how much you are spending monthly, but understanding what are your base costs on a monthly or a yearly basis, what are your variable costs. Typically, like we do for our clients, many of the business cases where we try and minimize their OPEX so that we can free up cash so that they can have their capital expenditure. Similar for our own, it should apply where we say that, okay, how do we minimize our base costs, our fixed costs, so that we can free up cash and create the flexibility to have those variable costs. So the base cost of our spending is basically our mortgage, our car payments, our education for children, utilities, all those expenses. And to do that, you need to think about, are you living in a high cost of living city, medium cost of living city, low cost of living city? Again, linked to your investment philosophy and lifestyle strategy, that what's your plan towards minimizing that? Is there a possibility that if you are living in a high cost of living city or a neighborhood, that you can have that same level of lifestyle in a medium cost of living city or a neighborhood? And I'll talk about this H call, M call, L call in another video, where how do you choose locations in future when you are looking for, let's say, retiring early, something like that, what we are doing. So these are just examples of your base costs. Similarly, in your variable cost, you need to evaluate and analyze that how much of your variable cost is coming from your lifestyle expenses. And by the way, variable cost is your entertainment expenses, your discretionary expenses towards travel, gifts, etc., shopping. So that's where again you have to critically look at that how much of that is your lifestyle cost, how much of that is something which you have to do just to keep up appearances, I would say, and so on and so forth. So understanding your costs becomes super important. The third point linked to the cost is your house. And this is a bit of a controversial point that I would mention about is your house that you're living in cannot be just your primary investment. And this is something which has been quite a big surprise for me in the last few months when I've been interacting with quite a few people, is when I review their investment portfolio, I see that the house they are living in is probably 60, 70, and in some cases, probably 80 to 90% of their total investment. And that has two impacts. One is that means that your the place that you're living in is not giving you any returns. It may have a capital appreciation over a period of time, but it is not giving you returns in terms of a possibility of a passive income. On the other hand, if the house that you're living in is your primary investment, means that it's probably you are living in an expensive house, because if that's around 70 to 80% of your total investment, means that your majority of your salary has either gone towards the mortgage or the down payments towards this house that you're living in. And that'll add to your lifestyle, that'll add to your fixed costs in terms of utilities, property taxes, etc. In the FIRE community, interestingly, most folks, including myself, do not even consider house as part of the investment portfolio. So um, what it does, if you do that, is that it gives you a complete reality check that, look, this is the total portfolio that I can live with, and the house that I'm living is because you need a place to live, that this is, the rest of the investments keep me secure. And what it also does is it gives you a dispassionate view to look at, saying that, look, if I have to exclude my house from my total investment portfolio, now how do I make sure that my house is not that big an investment and I'm able to channel more towards the other investment buckets? So that is the third point. The fourth point would be linked towards the same as primary investment as a house, is not having a well diversified portfolio. So for example, if 80% of your investment is just in a house, and if there's a housing crisis or housing market, you can imagine what happens to your portfolio. And there are the other cases also where I have quite a few ex-colleagues who have, in one case, 100% of their total investment is in the company stock that they've got over the years or the decades that they've been working there. Now, that's a very scary place to be, because it's a double whammy. Not only is that company giving you salary on a monthly basis, but you're also majority invested in that company. So if something happens to that company because of the market disruption or because of some bad decisions of the leadership, you are going to have challenges both from a salary as well as an investment perspective. And this has happened in the history so many times. Think during the 2008 crisis, where many of the banks folded. Think companies like Enron, where a scandal folded or bankrupted a company. And imagine someone who had probably 100% of their savings, or even 50, 60% of their savings investment into that company, and so they not only lost their salary, but they lost majority of their investment. So that's a big mistake, or a common mistake, I would say, many people make, of not having that diversified portfolio. And to add to that, I would even say that the diversified portfolio should not just be about diversifying in terms of the assets when it comes to, let's say, real estate, equity, funds, bonds, etc. But I wouldn't go one step further, that you should also diversify in terms of currency and countries, so that you're not just linked to one geography, for that matter. And this is very much possible, especially with the network or the group of people that I've been working with, as well as the young generation have so much of access to so many tools. The banks have so many tools to give you possibility to invest in different markets and different currencies. So make sure that you diversify not just in assets, but also in currencies and geographies. The next point I would say is a bit qualitative, and it is about comparisons. And I don't mean comparison in terms of lifestyle or keeping up appearances, but it is about comparisons of investments and getting swayed in making investment decisions by seeing some of your friends or colleagues making a killing by investing in a startup or a crypto, or what you read in the media or hear on the TV. And that's again important to have that investment philosophy. So for example, if you're in your investment strategy, investment planning, if you've said that, look, my strategy is that I would like to have a yearly return from my portfolio in between 5 to 7%, and anything above 7% is a lottery and I'm not going to focus that much, and this is what, then you will be less swayed by saying that I'm going to be positioning a majority investment into getting 2x and 3x. I personally went through that many times, got swayed by specs, reading in the media or talking to some of my colleagues, or getting swayed again by crypto. So make sure that you know that even if you do that, just make sure that it's a very small percentage of your total portfolio. The other mistake we make is not spending time in the market or trying to time the market. And this is one of the famous quotes, I think, of Munger, where he says that don't time the market, but spend time in the market. And Seema and I, we both learned also many times in the hard way, where we realized that timing the market has, no matter how much research you do, will probably gain you some marginal benefits, but nothing. If for long-term strategy, nothing, big substantial gains. It could gain you something on a short term, but definitely, I would say, trying to time the market for a long term hasn't worked out for quite a few, including many of the big fund houses that if you evaluate and you see the fund managers and their performances versus, let's say, an ETF performance or S&P 500 ETF, SPY, BOO, all these funds, they've probably done a lot better than even the fund houses or the fund managers for that matter. And that brings me to another controversial topic, is about financial advisors. Now, again, the jury is out. Some folks say that having a financial advisor is very important and it's helped them. And some people say that, look, they do on their own. Personally, Seema and I, we do our own financial, portfolio management rather than have an advisor, because of a couple of reasons. And this is just our personal experience. So, as I said, that it's jury is out, but it's up to you. And we do it because we realized that, look, over a period of time, there were products that when we had financial advisors, especially from the banks, they were positioning or pushing products that probably were locked in, and they had a lot of initial fees that we did not realize at that time. And it was better to do manage your own. Even if you do have a financial advisor, my advice in that case would be to make sure that you share that investment strategy and investment philosophy, that these are the things that you're looking for as returns. This is what your long-term goals are. This is what your type of portfolio that you want to build. And then see that if it aligns with their fiduciary duty to advise you without having, let's say, a vested interest of a certain product or asset for that matter. I hope this video helps you to have a sanity check against your spending habits, your savings, or your investment strategy. Feel free to reach out, and I'll be happy to have a dialogue about any of these points. Take care. Bye-bye.